2. All right.
What's going on, fellow park enthusiasts? This is the Park Geeks, and we're back to talk about our favorite wow moments in various attractions. Now, this topic was suggested by Kurt, so I'm going to have him lead this episode or the streamcast. So, Kurt, why don't you go
Yeah,
ahead and get started?
sure thing. So the wow moments are those little tiny moments in a ride that make you just go, wow, I can't believe they just did that kind of thing. It's those little tiny things that plus up a ride that turn what would just be a good ride into a great ride. It's the memorable thing that you don't forget. It's just, oh, you remember it forever. It's just, oh my God, I can't believe I just saw what I just saw.
Right.
Kind of thing. So those are those moments that we love. It's one of the things that makes you want to go to theme parks and experience those things. So I think we should just go ahead and dive into some of these, right?
Yeah, why don't you go ahead and get us started with seeing how this is your topic? You tell us some of yours.
Yeah. But I think the one of the all-time outstanding ones in my mind is at Universal Orlando, Amazing Adventures of Spider-Man, when you get to the scene where you get hit with the levitation ray.
Oh,
I think,
okay.
and that levitation effect is so on the money. It just blows me away every single time I see it. I remember the first time I rode on that, because this is pre-internet. This is back in almost before. Well, it wasn't pre-internet, but it was around 2000. Internet was up and rising. You couldn't find a lot of stuff. So I had no spoilers of the ride. I didn't know what was going to happen on the ride at all. And you get to that point, all of a sudden all the effects go off that give you that illusion. And I said, wait a minute, are we actually levitating? Wait a minute, because my engineering side is thinking through how would you build that? How can you possibly build that? And I finally just, this is all an illusion. This is just an illusion. This is really cool. This is the coolest thing I've ever seen. Because they give you the puff of the cloud of smoke, right? As the car spins into the next set. Actual practical set pieces lower, and they're in different staged areas, so you get that parallax effect. And then the lighting effect on the sides that make look like windows are scrolling by when there really aren't, and the way the car tilts, and that's just like blows me away. I've been on that ride literally 1,000 times. I go there multiple times. Every time I'm at the park, I ride it multiple times, and I've been going to that park since 2000, so 23 years, and it blows me away every single time.
Yeah, that's definitely a good one, and definitely set a new standard, because I know they tried doing the same thing, or at least something similar with Transformers. However, when you actually do levitate up, you actually do go up one floor, but the problem is you don't notice it. It just feels
you're not supposed to. In that ride, you're not supposed to notice it because that's just for economy of space.
Yeah,
is that the footprint of the ride would be too big if it was on one level. So they put the elevators in to put on the second floor. Most of it actions happen on the second floor, but you're not supposed to know it as a guest. That's why it's hidden.
I'd like to, because it's an awesome effect.
Yeah.
But for me, my big wow moment, now technically not a ride, it's a show, but I'm still sticking with it because I'll never forget when Raul first took me to this, and he would not tell me a thing. He would not say a thing about this attraction to me. He wanted me to see it for myself. And that's the Bourne Stuntacular.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, because I remember T2 3D pretty well. I remember that.
So do I.
And just one okay, well that was a 3D show, or a 3D. Yeah, we'll say like a 3D show. And I'm just wondering, okay, so what are they going to do to top this here? And you walk in, you see the sets, you watch the pre-show, like okay, interesting. And then you go into the theater. You see what looks like a giant brick wall, or stone wall, I should say, and the screen cuts. You see what looks like a fight breaking out, and you have no idea who is actually there and who is just on screen. And that was the moment where I just went, "What am I in for? What is this?"
Yeah.
And or when the very next set where they actually bring in the big board, the transition is so smooth that you go, "What is this?"
Yeah.
And in my opinion, that was one of the a step up in park technology and what they could do to convince you. And then you get to the first showdown on the rooftops, and again, the lighting is so good that you're just not sure, like, okay, what's actually a moving set piece and what's actually on the screen. It's so convincing that it really screws with your mind.
Yeah, it's synchronized. The moving set pieces are synchronized so well. That's really impressive.
And then, of course, there was the spinning tower.
Yeah, that was a very good effect.
Yeah,
all the timing.
A while.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you get that virtual camera effect with the parallax, because it's like the camera, your point of view is you're rotating around the camera, but the camera's also lowering at the same time.
Yep.
Which is the effect of the tower rising up, gives you that convincing effect. It's really amazing. That definitely is a wow moment right there.
It's like, how did they figure that out?
Yeah, I'm amazed that somebody figured out that you could do that. You know, that this would work if you put an 8K high resolution screen behind it, and you get these moving, you know, self-driving set pieces moving around. It's really amazing.
Yeah, you don't have to rely on projecting effects. You just combine practical and screen effects, and I think that experience really highlights what you could do. So the more I see of it, the more I'm like, I am very happy for the future of Universal Entertainment, especially all the stuff we could get at Epic Universe. So we'll see down the line. I mean, it's only a little over 2 years away, but that's going to fly by quick, and then we're going to enjoy hopefully a state-of-the-art theme park on par with the Disney Sea in Tokyo. So that's the dream. Okay,
so what about you, Daniel? What's the one, at least a wow moment that you've experienced?
Oh God, I got so many. I have so many. Like, I just spent like the past hour just like going through memory lane and be like, what to talk about first? So like, should I stick with Universal? Should I shop a different park? Well, I guess I'll stick with Universal because, especially, I wasn't really a big fan of roller coasters, but then I rode the Incredible Hulk at Islands of Adventure, and it's just something I've never seen before, and I haven't seen anything replicate. It's just a delayed launch. That tunnel, that sound effect going on, classic and the current version, it's just so good. Although I do prefer the classic way you were launched at that tunnel, but that is the most iconic start to a ride. Like that start, actually, as cool as Velocicoaster is, and I adore that opening, I will never forget my first time on Hulk, and just that rush of the first time, the immediate G's that pull you in because you're pulled laterally, and then you're put immediately down your seat, even with the really annoying over-the-shoulder restraints. And it's more intense now because I'm a bigger guy than when I was a kid. So, man, just magical. I'm glad they haven't removed that ride from the park, and it certainly is something every coaster enthusiast should just experience. And I think it's a great way. I think for people that are scared of a lot of roller coasters, like when they feel brave enough, like, this will definitely punch them out of that fear mindset and have them hyped to do more things. So that's just my opinion. It did for me. So I will.
The Hulk was one of mine too. Yeah, the Hulk was on my list too. The launch on the lift hill was totally unexpected because I didn't know it was there. You know, I hadn't read anything about the ride. You couldn't really watch videos at that in 2000 at that point about rides. And even though when I was walking up, I saw the trains coming out of the top, and it didn't click in my head that there was a launch in there. I thought it was just a regular lift hill, and they were just coming off the lift hill. It didn't register that they were coming out too fast, and it wasn't. So we're just going up the lift hill, and I'm just sitting there, and then all of a sudden, whoa, we're going. Okay, the ride's starting now.
It doesn't warn you. Like, it just, I mean, in both versions, it's just like there's some voice work going on, and all of a sudden, like, there's a window of like 3 to 5 seconds, and you just launch, and it's beautiful.
Yeah.
It is
beautiful. I prefer the classic version with the computer voice, because Banner says, he says, I think this time it's going to work, which is obviously, it's not.
Yep.
And then you hear the alarm goes off, rant, and the computer voice comes on and says, warning, coolant level dropping or something like that. And then the abandon says, no, and then all of a sudden, then he's a launch, and then you
while he screams,
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's definitely better.
Was that the first coaster to use a launch gimmick?
I think it's the first one with a launch on the lift hill. It's not the first launch. Definitely not. Because Schwarzkopf was making launch coasters decades ago.
There were shuttle loops and stuff like that.
Shuttle loops have been around for decades. So those were totally different technology. But yeah, definitely, to my knowledge, that's the first launch on a lift hill.
Okay, well, seeing how you guys talked about Islands of Adventure, my next one will be from Islands of Adventure as well.
Sure.
But this one's going to be more current, and Daniel already brought it up, the Velocicoaster.
Oh, because
Which part?
What is the
No.
wow moment? There are many wow moments. I won't
Yeah,
judge you if you pick either one of them. Like I can
I'm
name
going to have to
four.
say the second launch, because when you go on the second launch,
Yeah.
because the first part of the ride is basically you in the paddock with the Raptors. But by the time you get to the second launch, it's like, here's something extra you didn't. Well, you obviously must have expected because you see the track, but it just feels like like not necessarily a separate ride, but it's completely different from the theming part. Because again, you're in the paddock with the Raptors, but now you're just soaring like a pterodactyl,
Mm-hmm.
and that barrel roll over the water. It's like you swear you could just stick your hand out and touch the water.
Woohoo! It's right there.
And then you get done with the ride, and everyone, I'll never forget, everyone's like clapping and cheering. I'm like, anybody got a cigarette? Yeah, but I'd say that's my wow, because sure, like, you're in a coaster in this tight packed place, but we've seen that. And some of us have even experienced that. But it's when it goes out over the water when it turns into a holy shit moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, if it was on the second launch.
The barrel roll over the water is good because the speed is low enough that you kind of fall out of your seat while you're upside down.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a lot of those loops and barrel rolls, you're pinned into your seat by the G-forces. This one, you're not. So you actually kind of fall, you know, towards the water, which is a little bit more unnerving. I think that makes it even better.
The one thing I'm surprised that the crowd has not thought about doing is that every time it does the barrel roll, I want the entire line to scream, "Do a barrel roll!" from the Star Fox team.
You got to get a whole team together for that, but that'd be funny.
Yeah, I'm surprised no one has thought to do that.
I'm sure it's been done just by random people, not a whole train. Yeah, but that whole experience. But I agree with you that I think that second launch is probably the wow factor, just because. I mean, I know it's kind of a staple for intimate roller coasters that I've seen, but the way it's executed here, going over the top hat, it's incredible. Just you get the nice view of the park, you get the nice air time, and then you just immediately drag down into the stall. It is such a winning moment of that ride. I can't get enough of it.
Plus, not to mention, if you're like in like the very last seat, the second goes over that top hat, for a moment you feel like the coaster's about to stop. Like you think you might get stuck up there, but then nope.
Going down.
By cutoff, Kurt. Like Kurt, give us another one here, but this time from Universal.
Actually, I want to move on to Disney. Let's give some to Disney.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay,
sure. They deserve them too. I got some more for Universal, but let's come back. I want to give one. Now this is more nostalgia based. This wouldn't wow people anymore, but this is. I have some of mine are based on nostalgia.
Yeah.
And I want to try to communicate the way it was back in the day. So this is the very first time I ever went to Epcot, which was in the early 1980s. This was a new park I'd never been to before. Pre-internet, didn't know much of anything about it other than watching Walt Disney talk about it on TV. That's pretty much all I knew about Epcot. And it didn't really. It was something different was built than what he envisioned. But when I walked in there, the very first time, you see the golf ball, and I'm walking towards that, and I had no idea what it was because you couldn't find out information. I knew I thought it was just like an icon. It's like the castle at Disneyland. You can't really. Well, there's a walkthrough in it now, but before there just was it's an icon, nothing else.
Yeah.
And so I'm walking towards it, and underneath it, I said, "There's a queue line."
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess there's a building behind it. It says, "Well, I guess there's a ride, or something. There must be a ride, right? If there's a queue line, there must be a ride." So I figured there's a ride in the building behind it. So I did no idea what it was. They don't tell you anything on the sign. So I get in line and wait for it. And you walk through you walk up the ramp into the entrance. I go, wait a minute, where are these cars coming from? And you get onto the load stations. Wait a minute, are these cars going up inside the sphere?
Yeah.
What the hell? There's a ride in this thing? It just blew me away because it was totally unexpected. You wouldn't, nobody back in 1980, nobody built things like that.
No.
Right? You would never expect to see a ride inside a giant sphere like that at the front of the park. And it was just like, holy shit, who engineers? Because I'm looking, I'm thinking the engineering mode, how the hell are they holding this much weight up? Because there's only a couple of supports holding the whole thing up. And I'm thinking about where the load has to be and all keep going, and we go on the ride. You keep going up and spiraling around, and then you spiral back down in the middle. It's like, holy shit! How much track is here? You know, and the whole thing. That moment I walked to the load station and realized the ride was in the sphere and not in the building behind it. Just it was like, wow, who does shit like this?
So the wow moment is just the whole concept, yeah.
Just the concept of I'm totally in the right place. I know I'm in the right place. This is where I want to be. This is where I want to be.
This is the future.
There's a lot. Yeah. I got more to talk about with Epcot, but that's just one thing. Just the concept of that blew me away.
Yeah, I still respect Spaceship Earth. I think it's definitely an underrated attraction. I think it certainly carries the same passion that a classic Walt Disney ride should. And
I miss Walter Cronkite's voiceover. Of all the voiceovers they've had over the year, Walter Cronkite's was the best.
Yeah, that was before the current one, right?
Yeah. That was two before.
Oh, two before,
right? Because they had the original narrator, which I don't think was a celebrity.
Yeah.
Then they had Walter Cronkite. Then they had Jeremy Irons, and then they have Judi Dench.
Okay, yeah, I think I'm more familiar with Jeremy Irons, but maybe when I was a younger kid, I could have heard Cronkite's version. I have to listen. There's probably videos of it out there.
Guaranteed. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome.
So anyway, so Daniel, do you got another one?
Yeah, like I said, I got a whole list, so I'm just trying to see about which one I want to talk about. Let's go to the next. Yeah, so
pick your next favorite.
My next favorite. Yeah, so I'm going to actually praise a ride element, and we're going to go all the way to the Animal Kingdom for this. And easily one of my favorite attractions at Walt Disney World is Expedition Everest. And the reason why is that whole backwards drop segment. Just, you get the stall, it fits in with the theme, like this whole theme of the Yeti, but then you're just, like, you're going to gravity section backwards in the dark, and just feeling everything pressed down on you. And you have no idea where you're going, and you're going faster than it seems. Like, that whole execution before you see the Yeti face to face at the end there, it's so well done. It's such a crucial part of that attraction. And I wish I was there to see an actual moving Yeti at the end, but yeah, just that little portion.
Yeah, Kurt did.
Yeah. Just that little portion there.
I've seen it.
I think that's the best part of the ride, and it wowed me the first time I went on it. And it wowed me that Disney could make rides as intense. Like, I'd probably find this ride more intense than freaking Rock and Roller Coaster, and I've been on that ride a couple times. So,
the one thing that actually impressed me about that ride was, again, this is kind of the magician production guy talking in my head, and that is how they distracted you from the track changing. Because when you go, like you said, you go up that hill, and you'll notice that there's actually a train car behind you or some kind of like locomotive behind you, so that you can't see. So even if you were to turn your head, you can't see it change the track.
Yeah.
The other is when you see the silhouette. The silhouette is there to distract you from the track turning over so you take the other path. Yeah. I thought that was actually genius because misdirection is a big part of magic. It's a big part of illusion.
Yes.
You get where you want the person to look without them noticing you doing the dirty work over on the other side.
Right. Yeah, it was the Expedition Ever was a great idea because you come up to that piece of track and it just ends. It says, okay, well, what's going to happen now?
Yeah, no launch. It's just, here's the gravity section. So it messes with your expectation. Oh, we're going to go down this hill? Nope. Not the way you think. And then just from there on, it's just a thrill. Like, the way it starts out, I loved it. I love going on that ride. I would ride it like 5-6 times in a row, and I wouldn't get sick of it. Like, it's so fun.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll throw one here to Disney. As much as I loved the Cosmic Rewind ride, I will have to say, in terms of having a wow moment, Star Wars Rise of the Resistance, that opening, that moment in the queue, where you go into a spaceship, you walk out that same exit, and you're in outer space now.
Yeah.
That really sets the tone of, oh my god.
Yeah.
It shuts everybody up every time.
Yeah, and the fact that, the queue still continues, but the queue feels part of the ride. It really does, because you can tell, and you can tell the cast is having a lot of fun with this because they get to play a villain for a change.
Yeah, I think it's the only time. I think it's the only time the cast members get to be a little mean to the guests.
Oh, and they want to be.
Oh yes, every cast member pining. Please put me on Rise, please. I need to roast everybody I see. but in
Right. I
character.
need some revenge. I need my revenge.
And then you get you see like those the two villains up there at the top telling you about how you're doomed, and then you get the wall busts open. You escape.
That's so cool.
Yeah, the prison break is an excellent idea.
And just how fast those carts move for a trackless ride.
Yes, yes, and smooth. That's what impressed me. They're fast and they're smooth.
And you're actually, it feels say whatever you want about the sequel trilogy, but it actually feels like you're in Star Wars because
100%.
of the sets.
Yes, it does. Even though the sequel trilogy sucks, it does feel, when you're on the ride, it feels like you're in the Star Wars universe. I will give them that.
Yeah, like Disney, like we have to give you that.
Yep.
It'll just get better with age when they decide to redeem it to DOT or something.
Yeah, it's Star Wars. I can't deny that ride feels like Star Wars. You just change the characters to original trilogy and it'd be perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, Kurt, let's kick it back over to you.
Yeah, I think we got to go to a non-mega park. It's really hard.
Right.
I mean, admittedly, it's very hard to find wow moments outside of the mega parks, but I do have one.
Okay.
This is at Kings Island in Ohio. Famous roller coaster called the Beast.
I went on that. Yeah.
Oh, you have. Good.
Yes.
You know, longest wooden coaster in the world. Now, it's not the fact that it's long. The wow moment is the fact that the thing just takes you somewhere. Where the hell are we going, kind of thing.
Yep.
So just to tell you, the Kings Island has a lot of land. It's one of the parks. They just purchased a ton of land, and they got this big plot of land. And they wrote up. This is built in 1979. They're gonna put a roller coaster in. You know, usually a wooden roller coaster, you can see the whole structure, right? You know, if you go down to Busch Gardens, you can look at Iron Gwazi, and you can just see the entire structure, and you know where it's going to go. Yeah. Not this one. You go up, you can see the lift hill, and you can see the return. But when you leave the top of the lift hill, it just takes you way out into the woods. It's like, where the hell are we going? You know, you go up the first hill, you go down the hill, through a tunnel, you come up the other side, 90-degree bend, down a second hill, up again, 90-degree bend the other way, and you go down this long ass straight piece of track, which is under a roof. It's actually a block brake, because back in 1979 those brakes were done with skid brakes, and skid brakes don't work when they get wet, so the whole thing had to have a roof over it to protect it from the rain. That's why it has a roof over it. But there's this long ass piece of track, you know, which is to be able to stop the train in case you know that you got too close to the train in front of you. Therefore, but you're just going out into the woods. You go through here. You turn to the right, down into a tunnel, going around. It's like, where the hell is this thing taking me? When you're on the ride, you can't see anything in the park. You're just in the woods. You can't see anything. You can't see the midway. You can't see any other rides. You can't see any other piece of track other than the one you're on. So you can't see where the return is. You're just going and going and going and going and going. It's, where the hell are we? And it's finally, after you get through this long run, you finally turn around and you come back to there's a second lift hill on this ride.
Yep.
And when you get on the second lift hill, then you can see where the first lift hill was. It's okay, we're back more or less to where we started from. But just like the first time, I was like, where are we going? And it's not slow either. The thing back in the day, this thing ran at breakneck speed. It was insane. They unfortunately they've had to break it and slow it down. It's not as good as it was. But I rode it back when that thing was just totally out of control, taking you somewhere. And that was just like, so wow, that's what a ride has to be.
The name fits it. Beast in a lot of factors.
Beast. Yeah, and there's a reason. You know, this has been there since 1979. Not many rides last that long, and it's still going strong. They retracted it a couple of years ago, did a lot of improvements. Running pretty good. The Helix is a lot better than it used to be. My only complaints are the trim brakes on the first two hills. I hate that. It doesn't go as fast through the tunnels, the big long tunnels. But other than that, it was a total wow moment the first time I rode it.
Yeah. Not anything that makes it stand out from the whole bunch of roller coasters out there. I agree with you.
Totally unique. It's the longest coaster in the world. Still 7,361 feet. Had to look it up.
I'm gonna have to make a note of I gotta make a note of this. I gotta make a note of this and check that out.
Yeah.
Yep.
Dan, do you actually have one from a non-mega park that you can add to this here?
A non-mega park. I guess if you want to count SeaWorld, but I'm not sure about that. Yeah, like from like an actual local park.
Like say like a Six Flags or something.
Oh man, I have to like think about. Oh right, I guess I could talk about my trip to Cedar Point.
Cedar Point.
Yeah, Cedar Point. I'm not going to talk about that terrible toboggan ride there. No. Um,
That's the
disaster.
inverse route. Wow moment.
Oh, that was
Yeah, I'll save that for the next episode.
cringe beyond cringe. But
That's the disappointment moment.
it was my first time on Millennium Force. Just how long,
yeah.
just how long it took for you to climb that hill, and just it's a very classic experience. But then when you get to that top and just seeing that how steep that drop is for the first time and feeling for the first time what 90 miles per hour felt like, it was like, oh my god, what did I do this for? My dad was freaking out next to me, but it was it was.
I love that ride.
Yeah, it was a amazing experience, great length. I think pretty decent, comfortable seats compared to the stuff I was used to on the roller coasters.
Yeah.
And
it keeps its speed up throughout the whole ride. That's the other good thing.
oh yeah, very little that will slow down after the first drop, and just nonstop goodness through the end of it. So that's basically what Everest did, without all the fancy theming and all that.
Yeah.
Just pure raw thrill that if I get a chance to go to Cedar Point again in the future, I'll definitely love to handle the new stuff they have there. But I'm sure the old stuff will hold up just as well. I think they're actually retheming Top Thrill Dragster, or redoing Top Thrill Dragster.
Yes.
Soon.
Yes, they are. They're doing something unannounced to it. We don't really. There's a lot of speculation. Nobody knows that some speculation is they're going to make some portion of it higher to grab the highest coaster in the world record again.
They have to make it faster to reach it.
Yeah. They're thinking people are speculating. If they really want to go for it, they're going to have to try to break 500 feet, which would be insane. I mean, the biggest I think is King Ka, which is 450 some odd. I think I'd have to look it up. So they could go a few feet higher than that. But if you're going to do that, why not just go for the gold and break the 500-foot mark? You know?
Oh man, if that's engineering feasible, like how much magnetic power would need to be driven to that?
Well, interesting enough, some people have posted some drone footage online. There's some construction going on for it, and they're putting in one hell of a massive footer at one end of the ride.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're talking mega footer, and if you're putting a concrete mega footer in that big, it's going to support something big.
Okay, to add to the non-mega parks here, I'm gonna have to go with one that Kurt took me to, Railblazer at California's Great America, because I had never experienced a coaster like this. What are they called, Kurt? Single line?
Inline track, yeah.
Yeah, inline track. Now, as I said in my video, it's a little bit uncomfortable, but it's tolerable.
Okay,
but
yeah.
it's when you go down that first drop, and maybe when you get to like the first turn, you realize this is not your typical coaster. This thing is intense. For a short coaster, this thing will whip you like crazy. And not like, it'll jerk your head or anything, but you're just in for a very wild ride with this thing.
Yeah. With that track style, they can do transitions very rapidly. They can go from up to down, left to right in banks like you wouldn't believe, and it's just rapid fire at you. The whole ride, believe it or not, from the time you leave the top of the lift hill to the time you hit the brake run is only 40 seconds. That's the whole ride.
Must seem faster than that.
It is one hell of an intense 40 seconds. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I love that ride.
Yeah, because like I said, I never experienced an inline coaster before, and honestly, this is how I always felt like. It felt like you were on a Hot Wheels track. Like, have you ever seen people who make those huge, ornate Hot Wheels track that has so many twists, turns, and loops? That's what it felt like. And they have those little, because it really feels like you're getting whipped like that.
Yeah.
And by the time you get off this thing, you're like, what just happened?
Yeah. Yeah. It's over before you know it. It just takes you through things. Oh, it's over. Okay.
So, I mean, is that one to conquer your fears? I don't know, but it's a very unique experience for a coaster.
Maybe.
Yeah, it is.
People conquer their coaster fears in different ways. It took the hold for me, but for others, it could be something else.
And while that wooden coaster you showed me, Kurt, was cool, don't get me wrong, it's still just that Railblazer, dear God.
Yeah.
Now I'll go look up footage for this later. I'll leave a note here.
try, like if you ever get a chance, definitely check it out, or just like any inline coaster. Granted, I don't know how many are out there, but again, sweet lord, that was intense.
Yeah, there's 4 of them to my knowledge. There are 3. 3 of them are the same, and the one at Magic Mountain is the one that's unique.
How's it unique?
They did different track layout.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the other 3 are the same track layout, sometimes a mirror image.
That's pretty common, I think, in the coaster industry. They'll just like repaint something or retheme it.
Or it's cheaper too for the park because obviously the coaster company already did all the engineering, so they can just say, yeah, make me one of those, and they don't have to pay for a whole new ride to be designed.
Yep.
Crank another one out of the factory.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Okay, Kurt. You said you had quite a bit for Disney, so let's actually get through some of that.
Yeah. I'll do some stuff for Disney. Let's see what's also good here. Oh, this is a small one that you can't see anymore. This is on my nostalgia list. The original Journey into Imagination at Epcot, one of my favorite all-time rides. I mean, it's the kind of thing that makes me cry when it went away. But when I first got on the ride, the very first time, again, this is the first time experiences in early 1980s. I had no knowledge of what was going to happen on the ride because you couldn't in those days. So you get in the train, you're going along, a little kind of a little intro video thing, and then you see this moving thing coming along, and the train's moving, and it's hard to describe, but your train car, which is like 5 cars long, gets linked onto a moving carousel where there's a set piece where you meet Dreamfinder and Figment the first time, and you're linked onto it, and you're following this carousel around for minutes. And just a moment, because remember, this had to be designed with 1970s technology when they were designing these rides. And to think of a control system that you could take a train, bring it up to speed, synchronize it with a carousel, and have it hook on perfectly without hitting anything while other trains are getting off is just like, whoa, what the hell are they doing here? You know?
Yeah. Way different experience.
Just that bit of technology just totally blew me away that they could do that. And this is on a ride. I get to be on a ride that does this. You can think about things happening in factories, you know, and machinery synchronizing to do stuff in factory stuff. But this is ride. This is for fun. And they're doing this really complicated synchronization stuff and motion system. You have to think about all the safeties that have to be there to prevent bad things from happening and collisions and stuff. And I did get to ride a couple times. I rode in the lead car as you approach the carousel, and you look down at the track, and there is a shitload of sensors down there because they want to know exactly where everything is. You know, because this giant carousel holds like 5 or 6 trains at a time for like a show that goes on for like 3 minutes.
Right.
And you think about how big that is and how heavy it is, and it's moving. I mean, how long it might take to stop it, you know, if things go wrong. And you think about all this stuff, and you go, "Wow, this is like incredible! This is just a ride I get to go on. It's got all this technology in it, and it's so cool." It just blew me away when I realized what was going on here. And they got it to work. So I mean, that actually was apparently this is one of the reasons they got rid of that, is because it did have a lot of maintenance issues trying to keep that operational, from what I've read. But every time I went to the park, it was always up and running. So I never experienced any of that. And of course, the dog has to bark now, but that's okay. I just love that. It makes me so sad that I can't experience it anymore.
Yeah, because you took me on that when we went to Epcot, and I actually completely forgot all about that attraction. And I'm on this thing, like thinking, okay, you know, it was probably good for its time, but you're telling me no, it was actually much better.
Oh, it was infinitely better. The ride kind of sucks now. I mean, they took Figment out originally. They took out Figment and Dreamfinder, and they got so many complaints. They brought Figment back, and they redid it again. So it's the ride is kind of passable now, and I'll ride it. But when I go on it, it makes me so sad to think of what was lost. You know, because so much of the ride has been removed. You know, that area you exit through wasn't there. That actually was part of the ride. That big open area with the various little things you can play with in it. That was actually part of the ride system, was still in there. They just ripped out like at least about a third of the ride disappeared. Really, the whole thing just makes me sad to think about it. I really missed that one. But anyway, that was just the carousel and the way the whole thing synchronized and worked just blew me away.
Hmm. You got another one for Disney there, Daniel?
Yeah, I got a couple more. I'm gonna give kind of follow Kurt's track record here of rides that no longer exist. And I'm gonna shout out the Great Movie Ride because never have I seen live actors and the way the story is told there, where it just changed and fit the setting they're in. And I never thought that the host of your vehicle will get hijacked a third of the way through, and that was really cool. And I was like, wow, this is something I can only see at the Disney parks, and it really felt like I was part of the movies. And that whole experience was the thesis of the park, and I'm just very sad it's gone. But yeah, just having that coordination, even though the ride itself is very simple with the vehicles and effects, but just celebrating movies in that fashion, and the IPs they brought in, like the freaking alien scene, is, man, that just something, a big regret that I hope Disney can recover from one of these days. But there's nothing to replace that ride, and I like live actors when done well, like we saw with Rise. We can see it again for other things that don't have to rely on corny jokes, Jungle Cruise or whatever you want to throw in that mix. So yeah, I'm gonna shout that out.
You know, I'll go. I'll continue this trend. I'll go with another attraction that's no longer at Disney. Now, I will say it's not a ride, nor is it a show. It was a playground. It was the Honey, I Shrunk the Kids playground.
Oh yeah.
That was at what used to be called MGM Studios, now called Hollywood Studios, because I remember that movie when I was a kid. I remember the machine shrinking them down, and just how you go like, dear God, like that's what this stuff looks like up close.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now here's your chance to experience it. And yeah, like I said, it may be a playground, but when I was a kid, damn it, it worked. Okay, coming up to the giant
playground.
Yeah, I mean, coming up to the giant cookie, I wish you could eat it. Seeing the dog nose, going through all the ant tunnels, it really felt like you were in the movie. And
again, part of the park's thesis, and it's just kind of gone from the park.
Yeah, so. and obviously you're probably not going to see such a playground like that now. I mean, you go to a theme park, you want to experience like more high tech things, which of course you do. You paid money for it. I mean, if you want to go to a playground, just go to a park. Right. So I don't blame them for taking that one down, but my God, it was so cool. And actually, I'm surprised Disney hasn't rebooted that franchise yet. But give it time, I'm sure they will.
I don't trust them to reboot anything at this point. I mean, did you hear lately that they're actually going to reboot? Well, not reboot. They're going to remake Moana, a movie that came out in 2017. Now it's getting a live action remake.
It's not even 10 years old.
No, it's barely 6.
You gotta do the live action, because this is cost cutting, right? They already got a script.
I'm surprised.
Just start shooting.
I'm surprised that got a live action before Frozen did. You figure that would be the one that would get it, but I guess Disney's smart enough. No, we're not going to ruin our moneymaker. We'll let that stay animated, but we'll take something else, because why not? We got Dwayne The Rock Johnson here, and we're going to just shill for this movie with his kids in Hawaii.
I'm wondering how they're going to make his tattoos dance.
It's weird CG.
Of course, CG. Yeah. But anyway, keep leading us on here.
Okay. Let's go to Disneyland. I'll talk about the original Fantasmic, which for those of you who haven't experienced, the Fantasmic at Disneyland is a different experience than Fantasmic at Disney World.
Really?
And the reason for that is, Disney World, they built an arena for it with seating and everything. That didn't exist at Disneyland. This is actually in the park. The stage is on Tom Sawyer Island.
Oh.
You sit there on the banks, back where Pirates of the Caribbean Haunted Mansion are, and you watch the show from the walkway. It's the way, because they don't have any space there, and it's a totally different experience. It's like small intimate theater, as opposed to Disney World, which is like you're going to see an arena show. It's a totally different experience. But the one wow moment that I want to talk about was when the dragon appeared.
Yes.
This is back to the original version of the dragon, not the one they did later. It was actually a simple kind of mechanical crane thing. But Maleficent does a transformation thing, and the mist screens come up to kind of block what's happening on stage, and kind of show the footage from Sleeping Beauty where Maleficent's transforming into the dragon real quickly. the mist starts off, the lights come up, and this giant dragon, or what appears to be a giant dragon, is on stage now. And you go, like, where the hell did that come from? Because you can see the stage. The stage isn't very big. Yeah. And the cool thing at Disneyland, because that's Tom Sawyer's Island, during the daytime, you can go there and you can walk on the stage of Fantasmic.
Whoa.
No way.
Yeah, you can walk around all over the stage because everything's covered. It looks like a dock for Harper's Mill, which is the old mill that's there. And you can walk around and you can explore and look at everything. Everything, all the effects are enclosed and covered and locked, so you can't get into anything. But you can walk around on it, and you go at night, and this giant dragon came from somewhere. Where the hell did that come from? I mean, obviously it came from below, we know that, but the effect is so cool. And it's like, okay, they brought this massive thing up from beneath somehow, and they did it quickly. But then the dragon released fire, which I didn't expect.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't expect that to happen. This big, long stream of fire comes out. And then the next moment, the water is on fire. The rivers of America are on fire. The water is on fire. I'd never seen that before. The first time, that's cool. The water's on fire. This is neat. And it's hot too because you're so close. You can feel the heat. It's just incredible. And that just was that whole thing there. That was a total wow moment. And unfortunately, they have it at Disney World, but it's just not the same. It just doesn't work as well as it does at Disneyland in the original version, and it doesn't translate when you try to scale it up. Unfortunately,
have they changed that show?
Pardon?
Have they changed that show at Disneyland, or is it still roughly the same?
Yeah, they've changed it a little bit. They plussed it. They changed out the dragon to a. It looks more like the movie, but I think it's actually not as good as the effect that was originally there. And they've changed out some of the animated sequences in between. I like personally. I'm a fan of the original version. The funny thing was that according to what I read, when they originally debuted that show, Disney didn't apparently know what they had. They said, well, this is just going to be. We'll run it during the summer. Like they run the Main Street Electrical Parade was just during the summer, and this will be another thing we run during the summer. But the crowd response and people were just flocking to the park. Says, oh, I guess we have to run this more than just the summer. And they had to make all these changes. Well, we're going to have to run this year-round now. And they're running more shows per night than they had planned originally during the peak season. And it was a year-round show for a really long time. And Disney never expected that. They kind of didn't know what they had created. Which I thought was unusual. But yeah.
I'll kick it back over here to Universal for a little bit.
Sure.
And I'm going to bring up Revenge of the Mummy. Now, there's a lot of wows in that because it's an indoor roller coaster. And those are always unique because you have control of the elements here. But the ultimate wow factor was the false ending.
Yeah.
Because the first time I was on that thing, I legitimately thought the ride was over. But I'm going, man, why is it so hot in here? And then there's the mummy right there. Mm-hmm. And when you think about it, that's kind of a... it's a dark ride because it does take place in the dark, but also thematic wise it's pretty dark because there's two characters on that ride who die. There's the production guy and the woman operating the ride at the false ending. So you have two characters that they made for this ride who actually die, and next thing you know the roof is on fire and you go for one last drop. And like I remember when we had Timothy Bernardi on here, he was talking about how much he liked that. And it's a very effective illusion. And again, like, man, why is it so hot? Oh!
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, what?
Yeah. You can't beat the fake out false ending.
No.
And of course, that's my biggest complaint about the version of the ride at Universal Hollywood is it doesn't have that.
Oh, man. Well, I'm still going to judge it when I get there.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's kick it over to Daniel here.
All right. Let's see from my list right here. Man, I can go with one from Universal or from Disney. Yeah, let's shift it back to Disney for a bit. I'm gonna give another older attraction, but it's still running. It's definitely the Tower of Terror because I was so afraid of that ride for a while now compared to roller coasters like drop rides and stuff. And then I went on it, and it's like, wow, this is actually worth the experience. So the theming, but then,
oh god, yes, the theming in that thing is incredible. Like even if you've never seen the Twilight Zone, they nailed the theming. Everything looks so old and creepy and worn out.
everything, yeah. The pre-show rooms, the boiler room you go into, and then finally when you strap yourself in the elevator, I never expected that there was actually a segment where you actually go inside the scene. So you see the ghost family greeting you, lightning strikes the tower, and then all of a sudden you're brought into the Twilight Zone and you go through it. And it's like, wait, what? And the lighting, the music, just the doors that part the way at the very end, and you're in just complete darkness. That is terrifying. That is creepy. But in the end,
I think the whole thing when you leave I didn't know that was gonna happen. When you leave the elevator shaft.
yeah,
Right, you're on the ride, and suddenly the doors open, and there's this room there, and your car starts moving forward. You go, "What the hell?" It's like, this is great. Who builds shit like this?
Subverting expectations like that's what I miss most from modern Disney attractions. Yeah. So just having something like that is fantastic, and hopefully Imagineering can get back on track to deliver more experiences like that. We'll see, but for now, that certainly still is one of my highlights, and I'm glad that hasn't changed.
Yeah. So as long as we're talking about Twilight Zone, how many of you are enough of the Twilight Zone fans to spot all the hidden little items in the pre-show room? How many of you found?
I didn't know there were any.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of items in there that reference specific episodes from the Twilight Zone.
Yeah, I saw like newspaper clippings and like some props that were there.
Yeah, there's replicas of the original props. Mm-hmm. There's little envelopes, and each of the two studies has a different envelope with a name on it. That means something. Mm-hmm. So anyway, so those of you who are Twilight fans, next time you're waiting for the pre-show to begin, look around carefully while you're in the little study area there and see what you can find.
They love to hide details in there. Yeah.
And speaking of the Twilight Zone, here's something for you. My dad's girlfriend, Brenda, but I gotta tell him the story. Now, she's claustrophobic and doesn't really do rides. She would not do the Star Tours ride, but she did do Tower of Terror.
What?
Wow. Okay.
Like
Tower of Terror is much scarier. Much scarier.
Like there goes logic flying out the window with the elevator. It's like wait, how? Like, well, it's so tightly packed in the Star Tours. Like, it's more tightly packed in the elevator. It's
you have more room in front of you, maybe, but yeah, it can get pretty tight in there.
I mean,
I don't know. Oh, whatever.
It's 280s for me and simulator. Have to get out of here. That's the real claustrophobia. Those seats haven't changed.
Okay, let's kick it back over to Kurt here.
Okay, well, let's go back to Universal for a moment. I think you already know this from my previous comments. Is Terminator 2, Battle Across Time, 3D. One of my favorite all-time attractions ever. Mm-hmm. So I'll pick I like the whole show, but I'll pick one moment. The moment when the Terminator on the motorcycle burst through the screen the first time.
Yeah, that was cool.
That was so, because I didn't, again, when the first time I saw it, I had no idea what I was seeing. I had no previous information about the show or ride at all. I didn't even know there was a Terminator ride when I went to Universal that time. This is how little information you could get back in the day. I saw there's something there. There's this building, and it said Terminator on it. I said, okay, I guess I'll go see what this is. I had no idea what was there. What I was getting into, and then you get to the point, and somebody comes through the screen on a motorcycle, is driving what appears to be a real motorcycle on the stage. It looks so good. It was just like, wow, I can't believe what they're doing, and it just totally sets you up for what's going to happen for the rest of the show. It gives you this, okay, this is where we're going. This is what it's going to be. It's going to be intense like this, and this is cool. And it's just that just initial thing, that blending the film, with actual actors on stage together and making it that seamless and look so cool was just awesome. That was a wow moment.
And it also had a hilarious moment where they killed a robot. Goes, friend of yours got a roommate. I remember that scene very well. I got a chuckle from everyone in the theater. I remember that.
Yeah, they just toss us the head aside.
Okay, let's kick over to Daniel here.
man, again, just looking at my list right here. Man, like I love Universal rides so much. But I'm still probably going to show for another Disney ride because it not only affected me but affected my parents as well a lot. Surprisingly, it was Flight of Passage. It was simulators done right, in my opinion. I know some people will disagree with this, but just the overall, just the pacing of it, how just the absolute depth that you can see with your 3D glasses, and just everything feeling the Banshee on you, taking time to stop and enjoy the environment. Like, you don't do that so often. A lot of rides are very fast paced. Go here, go there. Think you're about to die. You're about to dodge this, dodge that. Not this ride though. It's just a journey, and like when I came off it, like I was just wowed. I was just wowed. Like that one moment, and then the sense and see my parents' reaction. I never seen that at all from my folks, and we've been on many rides together. So I'm just wondering why that was the one that really stimulated their senses. Well, it's because it's different from pretty much every simulator ride you could think of. And even though you could just say, oh, it's just a basic simulator ride, I think it does way more than that. I think it sets the standard of what it could be, and I hope that they kind of learn from that and branch out, because I think it's a valid system. I think taking a more laid-back approach is nice, and in the end, it made me a bigger fan of the world and just 4D effects in general, so major props.
Yeah. So, was there a particular moment during the ride that really sold it for you?
Yeah, just when the Banshee lands and you're just there to soak it in, and you have everything light up. So you see the change in lighting, the smell in your face, the wind, your thighs being compressed by the Banshee underneath you. Everything combines to that moment where you're not focusing on the flying. You're just soaking it in. It I don't know. Like, I know it's probably weird, but like I enjoy that a lot, and I still enjoy it. Like, I would, every time I go to Animal Kingdom, I would make sure to get on it, because it's that initial experience was so wow for me and my family. So I'll give it props.
Well, all right, I'm going to kick it over to Busch Gardens. I think they deserve some love too.
Do it.
Here. For this one, I think it's called that floorless coaster. That's called Shikra, right?
Yeah.
Okay. There's actually two wow moments here because it's from two different perspectives. The first is when you're actually on the ride, and that's when you're about to go on the first drop, and it just stops.
Yes.
And you just dangle. And that's where you go, oh shit! And then,
yeah, because it's straight down too.
Yes, I love that.
Yeah, because again, I had never experienced that on a roller coaster before, and you definitely feel like you're shit out of luck on that thing. But the second wow moment is from the perspective of people who are not on the ride, and that's when it goes over that body of water and sprays it everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because like all it is, like there's no jets on there. It's just like this little cutout at the back of the cart, and it just scoops up the water, and by its own force, it just launches it out. I think for a lot of people who are on the ground watching this, they're not expecting that. They're not expecting a ride's emotion to have an effect on them there on the ground. So it's the slightest touch, but my God, it's effective.
Yeah, that's the dive coasters are a good one. I still have a soft spot for the first one that was built. B&M built the first one in England, which is called Oblivion. It's at Alton Towers, which I got to ride once. And the cool difference about it, when you do the first drop and you're hanging, you don't just go down. You go down into a hole. It's literally a hole in the ground, and it's really freaky because you can't see the bottom. You're hanging over the edge, and you're going into this hole, and you don't know how far down it's going to go. Now you can estimate it because you can see where the track comes out, of course, at the other end. But it's just kind of extra freaky. You're just going into this hole in the ground.
Yep.
And it's really cool. They have a really good theme. They have like a story behind it, and you get to see in the pre-show. Well, not really pre-show, but they tell you about video screens while you're waiting in queue. That's a really cool ride that's based on. But I love dive coasters. I just wanted to throw that in.
Well, Carl, let's kick it back over to you.
To me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's see. Yeah. What should I take this? Let's go back far in history here, and of course the dog's got to bark now. I don't know if you can hear that. He's going crazy. Something outside. But this is a no nostalgia thing, just for me. This is going back to the 1964 World's Fair in New York City, which I went to as a kid. And as people know, Disney had 4 attractions at the 1964 World's Fair. They had It's a Small World, Great Moments with Mr. Lincoln, the Ford Magic Skyway, and the GE Carousel of Progress.
Yes.
Right? And
that's actually Evan's favorite attraction.
Yeah, and it's still at Disney World. It's a slightly different variation of the show that was at New York City. But it's just so cool. Like, oh, sorry, something in my throat.
So what's the wow moment from that whole production, in your opinion?
The main thing is when you figure out that the theater rotates.
Yeah.
Yeah,
especially unheard of. You couldn't find anything out. You couldn't find out anything. Here, hey, Bo. Oh, wait, he's just gonna bark.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay, we can't hear it.
Yeah, we're good.
We didn't know anything. We didn't know anything about the ride before we went on it. And you get in there, and you can kind of see the building rotating a bit. It was like, what's going on with that? And you get inside, and you sit down, and you get the initial show, and then the music, the song comes up, and the whole theater seating area starts rotating. Oh my God, this whole turning. Like it's who builds stuff like this? You know, and you get all this little show, you rotate around each show, each little segment. It's like multiple shows, multiple sets.
Yep.
And that's the whole idea that you would have a rotating theater. It was just cool. It's like, you know, cool. It's cool. It's like, why else would you do it except to entertain people and do something cool and impress things, you know? And I just love that. I love the fact that I can still ride it today too.
Yeah, you know, it needs some TLC, but it holds up pretty well.
Yeah, I think the current version isn't bad. I mean, they edited the script a bit, updated it a bit. They had to take out all the references to GE, of course, because they dropped the sponsorship. That's probably the biggest change. But yeah, great attraction, and I just love the moment when it's this thing is cool.
I think I need to kick it over to SeaWorld here a little bit. Part of me wants to go with Journey to Atlantis, but considering how neutered that ride is now, I can't.
Sadly, yeah.
Yeah. So I am going to give it to the Manta Ray coaster.
Yes.
Because that was the first coaster I'd ever ridden where you actually sit in the Superman position, as I call it. And the first time I ever rode it, they didn't have that little gut protector on there, so you can feel your stomach getting stretched out on this thing.
Oh man!
But now it's there, so now he has something protecting your gut. But the wow factor was just the fact that the seats were pulling back. I had never experienced that. That's when you go, oh, we're in for something different here.
Yeah, it's a flying coaster.
Yeah, so that was, I think that's actually the only flying coaster I've ever done. But that was definitely a wow for me, especially, you know, when I was a kid. I never experienced anything like that. And it's definitely a unique way to experience a coaster, but I'm going to be really curious to see what this standing coaster they got going on right now is like.
Yeah. Kind of a surfing theme.
Yeah, because I remember you telling me, Kurt, that no one really does those anymore. They were kind of a novel idea.
Yeah, I want to see what they're doing differently now. They seem, the novelty of those stand-up coasters seem to wear off, but we'll see what they're doing with this one. Maybe it's different, maybe it's not. I'm not sure. Other than putting the surf theme in there, I'm not sure what's going to be different from what the restraints used to be. Well, we'll see. I mean, the complaint about the old ones, the restraints were kind of uncomfortable. There aren't very many of those left in operation. The Riddler at Six Flags Magic Mountain is one of the few that's left.
I think from people that were at IAPA, where they actually had people test those seats, that it was rather positive feedback from what I hear. Okay, so we'll see in motion when you actually have the forces at work to jerk riders from everywhere the ride goes.
Yep.
All right.
Daniel, you're up.
Yeah, kind of slowly running out, but because since Kurt brought up a show, I'm probably gonna shill for what I think was my favorite fireworks spectacular at Disney. I do think that's still Illuminations of Earth, because A, I played it in high school, so like I know that soundtrack inside and out. But B, I just love the message of global community there, and the 3 act structure works very, very well, compared to other like fireworks shows where they just kind of go on and on and on, and it's a lot of IP shilling in the end. But for this, it had a theme. It worked with it. And it reminded me of like the most epic marching band show I've ever been a part of, and it was it's something that made me tear up. And looking back, the music still does get me emotional every time because that's what I'm hoping for. You know, it's like the last bastion of hope that Walt Disney had for the world. He wanted to build a better community and bring people together. So I think that show was the same spirit as that. And the globe in the middle was cool. The finale was great. One of the loudest finales and fireworks shows I've been part at. And yeah, like, I missed that. And hopefully we can get something close to that in the future. But I will always shout out. I think my wow moment there was the final song. Just instant heart pull, instant dive into the climax. Some people were even singing along to it. Like, it was just that impactful. It still is impactful to a lot of people. And it's something that Epcot surely misses. I think that was the thesis of the park, like how Movie Ride was for Hollywood Studios. So, to me, I will never forget that show. And
I'm sorry it's gone. I mean, you're talking about Illumination.
Yeah,
that was just an awesome show. That was actually on my list too. I had 2 wow moments from that. But again, you know how popular that show was. That show ran from October 1st, 1999 till September 30th, 2019.
Yeah.
That's a long run.
That's a huge run.
That's a 20-year run for a show. That's enormous. That tells you how good it was.
Yeah.
It didn't run that long because it was bad. It ran because it was good. It was a really good show. I had 2 wow moments, particularly I wanted to point out.
Sure.
One was the Inferno barge. My God.
Yes.
When the flames went off on that thing.
Act 1.
That thing.
So good.
So I mean, at the end when the all of it goes off at once, and this huge fireball goes off, and it's out in the middle of the lagoon.
You feel it.
Way far away, and it's hot. You feel the heat from it. It's like, my God, how much are they burning there? I actually went and looked it up. So the Infernal barge, it has around the barge, it says they have 37 nozzles that they can spray the propellant. The propellant is isopar, which is a paraffin. It's a hydrocarbon, flammable liquid, I guess.
Yeah.
And it says they burn 400 gallons of it on every show. It's like,
I can see it.
Who does stuff like this, you know? And just that. I mean, sure, you see the flames at the beginning, which is simulating it's supposed to represent the chaos of the formation of Earth.
Yes.
And the fire going off. But then the big fireball at the end was the moment. All the nozzles, like, it sprays out the sides and up and down. And this huge fireball, which goes up, it says it goes up 60 feet out of it at the end. It's like, wow, that's a finale.
Yeah, perfect.
Finale.
Perfect way for Act 1. Act 3 is the most emotional. Act 1 gets you in the mood. And Act 2... it's a nice bridge. Like, it was such a perfectly done show.
Yeah, and the finale, the original. What saddens me though is you can't see the original finale anymore. When the first couple of years of the show, they had a fireworks finale at the very end that just blew me away. There were so much fireworks going off. It was just like, where the hell are they launching all this from? And it just went on and on. All these fireworks. There's this huge ball of light in the sky from all the pyrotechnics going off. Unfortunately, over time, cost cutting, I guess they wanted to trim the cost of the show, and they don't shoot off anywhere near as many fireworks at the end as they used to in the beginning. But those first couple of years, that finale was just unbelievable about the amount of fireworks they launched at that. That was just like, whoa! It's like, what are they doing here? Absolutely great show.
Yeah, I have not seen anything that captures that same magic. So it's awesome. Probably gonna watch it. I gotta kick it back over to Universal here, and I gotta give a lot of to the Wizarding Worlds of Harry Potter.
Yes.
Now, because I love Harry Potter, I love the magic. Yep. They did everything they could to bring that magic to life, and so I'm going to have to give it to the Forbidden Journey. That wow moment when your seat basically just lifts and starts floating, because that's when you kind of realize, well, okay, whoa, what's going on here? Because think about what you just saw getting into it. Like, you saw like these chairs kind of rolling in, thinking, okay, well, I wonder what this is going to be like. And And then suddenly you hear Hermione like, on the count of three, say observatory. She sprinkles that stuff on you. You lift up, go, okay, well, what's this all about? And then you kind of come to that what I call the teleportation scene, and then you're actually in Hogwarts Castle. And next thing you know, you're flying with Harry and Ron.
The transitions.
That's definitely wrong. Yeah, because I was avoiding spoilers on that the first time I was on. I didn't know what to expect. You're waiting the queue line. You see something about flying benches. It's okay. Don't know what that means. And you get up to the front and you see the cars going by. Okay, some kind of maybe an Omnimover style dark ride. I don't know, because you can't see what the mechanism is. You just see the benches going by. You sit down, you buckle up, you get in, and like you say, you get to Hermione with the flute power and sends you up to the observatory, and it starts moving. And I go, oh, this is a robo coaster. Because I've been on stationary robo coasters at other parks before. I've never been on a track. Says, I'm sitting there thinking, they put a robo coaster on a track. It's moving? Mm-hmm. They did this? And then you immediately start doing the calculations. Well, wait a minute, I saw a whole shitload of cars coming through the station. They've got to have a shitload of these things. What, they got like 100 of them on the track at once? How much did that cost? And they have to synchronize them all, and I'm thinking all this stuff. It's just a totally wow moment that somebody actually built something like this.
Just to have the right constantly move, and then they have bubble projectors that follow each and every car, and it's on this giant conveyor belt, and then just the way the screen ends to where the practical effects and scenery comes in, it's just so well done. Like that.
Well, and that's the other thing. The second wow moment. So you're in the observatory, right? Yeah. And I'm thinking, okay, when we got there, well, this is just going to we'll be flying through set pieces like Haunted Mansion or Pirates of the Caribbean or something. And then you can see through the archways, the windows outside. They have these, the matte paintings in the background. You kind of get like they're recessed, so you get kind of parallax as you go by. And then you get to the last window, and you move into it, and then you move through the window, and then you're moving into this, and you're moving forward into the scene to the window. Says, what the hell is going on here? And that transition caught me by. It's like a magic trick just happened. Because you're in this practical set, and they transitioned you almost seamlessly into the screen. I had to go, what the hell just happened there? Because we're flying through space now, and I knew, wait, we have to still be on the track. We have to still be moving, but I'm on this thing looking at this, which means the screen is rotating with me. Yeah. And I think, well, but then that means other cars. There have to be multiple copies of this, right? To all the other cars around me are doing this slightly different. Oh wow, this is cool. It's just that. Just that wow mode, that first transition was so seamless, it just got me totally by surprise. I didn't know that was going to happen. I didn't know what happened right away. I go, you do it, you go, what the hell just happened here?
And not to mention just how many sets you go through. I mean, you see the dragon, you see Willow, you go through, you see the Dementors, and you finish up back at the castle. It's like there's a lot packed into this building.
Oh yeah.
So to this day, I still consider it to be a marvel.
It's one of the best dark rides in the world. Period. As
much as I love the Hagrid coaster or Escape from Gringotts, it's quite clear there was a lot more that went into this particular ride than the other two.
Yeah. Well, I think I read somewhere that the cost for building that initial Harry Potter area at Islands was around $250 million.
I believe it.
And they won't say what it is, but I'll bet you most of the money went into that ride. I think of that $250 million, we're probably talking at least $150 million into that ride.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, you think about how complicated that thing is. All those seats, each one of those is an individual robot arm on a track. Each one is motorized separately, and it's all synchronized together with everything else, all the practical effects. It's, my God, who built stuff like this?
There's rumors that they're going to bring something like this back for Epic Universe, so we'll see what they've learned in the evolution of this.
Yeah. Plus, not to mention when you're going through the queue and you see, it's not Pepper's ghost. What was the illusion called again?
For
when you're in the queue and you see like the kids talking to you, not in the painting.
Oh,
That's
it's
Pepper's Ghost. Yeah.
I thought it was called something else.
it's a form of Pepper's Ghost. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's add depth perception for something that is not really there.
Yeah.
But even then, like the queue is so highly detailed.
That cues
Like-
a moment.
They nailed the movies perfectly in that. So anyway, let's go and kick it over to Daniel.
Kick it over to me. So let's see what I have not talked about here. I guess I can give a shout out to the one thing for Skull Island Reign of Kong that was a wow factor. Before they took it out, all the scare actors in line, that scared the shit out of me. Just them popping around the corner. Because they actually had full actors there with you. Not only through the windows, but they were everywhere, and everyone was freaking out. But obviously, I think the easiest wow moment to point out there is it's just the Kong animatronic at the end. It's just it just reminds me, well, even though I do miss the original confrontation, just seeing the big guy at the end and how lifelike he was and to scale, that was really cool. That moment made up for the whole ride and why I don't mind going on each time. Not the best ride there, but that wow moment there keeps me coming right back. And plus, that queue was pretty cool too.
Yeah.
Plus, it was much more animated than the older ones. Which, I mean, come on, technology advanced, of course it has to be. But I also just like the look that Kong gives, because I remember telling this to Kurt, he gives this look of, you shouldn't be here, but I'll let you go this one time.
Yeah, right. You be on your way.
Everybody gets one. I'm not saving you again.
On your way now.
Yep.
Okay, Kurt, let's get back to you.
Yep. I want to do one more. This is I have to go back to nostalgia, which is kind of what I'm going to wrap up on.
Sure.
Mostly it's Epcot back in the day, because Epcot was unique. Unfortunately, I've talked about this before. It really saddens me that Epcot can't be what it was anymore. It was a really cool place. The attractions were so cutting edge. You couldn't do that stuff. There's nowhere else on the planet you could go and have those experiences.
Agreed.
And even though a lot of people say, well, it's too sedate, there's no roller coasters and thrill rides and stuff. It says, yeah, but it had a lot of wow factors. The technology of the rides was off the scale. I remember the original rides, when it opened in 1980, those rides were designed in the late 1970s with the technology that they had. What they were able to do with 1970s era technology was just unbelievable. So the one I want to talk about was another one that wowed me was when I first saw the American Adventure, where they have film synchronized with animatronics, and that was cool. I'd never seen anything like that before. I mean, the just the concept I thought was beautiful to look at, and it was beautifully executed. I mean, they had what was projected in the back. They had these really large oil paintings that artists created that were used as a backdrop. They moved the camera around to give you parallax, and they had set pieces with animatronics which come up from below the stage to combine with the parallax and the set and look like it was a cohesive whole. It's like a work of art, just as the concept was. It wasn't just, it was theater. It was an art form. It still is an art form unto itself. And I don't think people appreciate what it was and the idea of doing it, because I had never seen anybody synchronize projected images for a backdrop with forward images of actual set pieces that could move. And the fact that there were multiple ones because again, I immediately started thinking of the engineering. We have all these different set pieces. How they organize them? There has to be a table below stage that can slide, left or right to bring whatever piece they're going to use into position that can then rise up. And they're all kind of obviously all assembled on this table down there that can move, so different pieces can move and shift and rise, and where they had to be packed them in. It's just so cool. And it was a nice. I think it still is. It's a wonderful patriotic show. Yeah, I still love the show. I was glad I had a chance to see it last time I was out. And I just thought that the whole thing, the whole concept of that was just an execution was just wow. I can't believe somebody's doing that. And that's kind of a general feeling I had with Epcot back in the day, is that the whole place was a wow. And like I said, nobody else did this. Nobody else brought together that assemblage of rides. The original, all the big rides where you had Spaceship Earth, Journey to Imagination, Horizons, you had World of Motion, and then you had things like American Adventure,
Universe of
out
Energy.
there. Yeah, Universe of Energy was another big one, and then you had the lesser shows. You had the movie at Paris, which I love, Impressions of France, Wonders of China. Those things were just fantastic. Nobody brought those together. Right. You can have all those experiences in one spot. So it's kind of like wow, somebody actually built a park like this where you can have all these experiences in a day. You know, and which unfortunately I was really saddened that they hadn't brought back. It was all the live entertainment they used to have, because every country had some kind of live entertainment show that would occur periodically throughout the day, and they haven't brought those back from the pandemic yet, which really saddens me that we couldn't see that last time I was there. But that was just, Epcot was just an amazing experience back in the day, and it saddens me that doesn't work anymore with today's audiences. It's really sad, I think.
Mm-hmm. I'll end on a nostalgic note too. This is not really so much a wow factor, but a holy shit, I'm scared factor, and that is Alien Encounter from Disney.
Yeah.
Just because that was the first time, at least that I could recall, where I experienced an actual scare ride, a ride that was meant to literally scare the shit out of you. And my God, it worked. It really worked. The fact that that particular moment where you realized that you really felt like you were in danger. I would have to say when you actually felt the alien going past you, because
in the dark,
yeah, because you can't see anything. You see this alien in a giant glass tube. It goes black. The tube's empty and cracked. Then it goes black again, and you feel him walking around the ship. And I remember being a little kid going, why the heck does this thing have a harness? Does this go upside down? And my dad goes, what do you think? I don't know, I'm just a kid. And it was legitimately scary. And it kills me that Disney just doesn't take a risk like that anymore.
Yeah. When was the last time you were on a Disney ride where somebody died, right? Because remember the guy up in the catwalk?
Yeah, that's right.
Trying to get the he gets killed and the blood comes down on you. When was the last time that happened in a Disney ride?
So not a wow factor, but definitely a holy shit moment.
Yeah. Imagine if they had like a actual IP Aliens attraction, full-fledged. Like, if that was just one part of the show, and then the rest of it is like kind of a walkthrough thing where you're going through like the halls of the ship, and oh god, like I will love that so much.
And it makes me wonder, how come no other park has tried something like this? Because there's your there's your template right there. I mean, when they tried replacing it with Stitch, like
we don't talk about Stitch.
No, we don't.
We don't talk about that failure of an attraction. And the rancid breath that goes across your nose.
I mean, clearly they were trying to play it up. Like clearly they were trying to play it up for fun. I get that. At the same time, though, it's like I wanted to be scared.
Yeah. Alien Encounter was. I love the humor in it. You know, because like you start from the pre-show to the beginning, it's always seize the future with excess, and they're always talking about seizing stuff, and it's just I thought it was hilarious. They're always.
And the other thing too is that the guy who was up on the catwalk, that was an actual actor. Yes. That wasn't some robotic arm holding a flashlight. That was an actual dude up there.
Yeah, right. And he dies.
Can you just imagine when he gets home, like, so, honey, how many times did you die today? About 30.
30 or 40 times, probably easily.
Okay, so Daniel, what are you going to end on?
Oh man, there's a couple I can end on, but I'll give a quick shout out to one classic thing, and just quick, and then I'll go to my real thing. So I'll give a shout out to Horizons as the last nostalgic thing because, again, technology for its time. I never expected the ending where you can just pick your own ending, and it just plays out so seamlessly and so well. So still an incredible experience. I'll never forget that. I'm glad I was born early enough to experience that. But the real wow factor is I'm still gonna give props to the Indiana Jones stunt show. that's a stunt show that even growing up as a kid, like I still enjoy it. I enjoyed it then, I enjoyed it now, and to see that much coordination on stage and treating it like an actual movie and seeing explosions happen in real time and everything well planned and thought out, plus the goofy the participation from the audience, like it was just so cool.
Which I got to do once.
Oh, cool.
Nice. Yeah.
Because I want to be the guy who got to see the mechanism that.
Yeah.
And seeing the sets up close. But for me, the particular wow factor for that moment was the giant ball coming down. Because like you see, it's like, okay, like you're familiar with this. Like, even if you've never seen an Indiana Jones movie, you can picture all the stuff being there, being part of it. Like, okay, yeah, there's the spikes, there's the pit. Okay, like, wait, why is the platform? Oh my god!
Yeah.
And the fact that he falls over, and you were like, oh, like, did he just get squished? Like, no, I'm fine.
I like
movie magic.
I like the transition effect where the finale with the plane scene, like that big, strong German dude gets sliced up by the propeller, and they just hide him so well. There's blood splatter on the plane, plus the explosions lining up. Like, everything about that was so cool, and I'm glad it's still there. But I have yet to see a stunt show that's come close to that. I think the only one I've seen was probably the Batman stunt show in King's Island, I think it was.
Wouldn't be Kings Island.
It was somewhere else.
It would have to be at a Six Flags park. They're the ones that have the IP for DC.
Yeah, I saw like a Batman stunt show somewhere. That was pretty good, but again, nothing on the level of Indy and its stunt show. But we'll see, because that opinion could change when I see a certain stunt show in a couple weeks.
Okay, everyone, thanks so much for joining us about some of our favorite WoW moments. And
and WoW moments are important. I want to wrap up on that.
Yeah,
this is what makes a good ride great, right? If it wasn't for these WoW moments, a lot of these rides wouldn't be as memorable as they are.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So I just want to point this is what gets people to come back. This is what people remember, and this is what people want to ride again and again and again to see that moment. That's why they're so important. And that's why we want to do this episode. Focus on those.
Especially if kids see that, and that's just instilled in their mind throughout their whole life. You just earn that reputation that like, this is so magical. I want to come back and experience it, and then take my kids one day.
Yeah, it's like when I went to the 1964 World's Fair and saw those 4 Disney attractions. That was like, wow. Mm-hmm. Okay, this is something I want more of. And that kind of launched, my whole interest in theme parks. It probably hadn't gone to the 64 World's Fair. I don't know if I would be as interested in theme parks today.
Yeah, and keep in mind, folks, you don't necessarily need to have a budget like Universal or Disney to create a wow factor. I mean, we talked about a few here on this stream. I still love Railblazer. I have yet to see another coaster like that, at least here in this neck of the woods. Mm-hmm. If someone should get on that. Or when I brought up Busch Gardens, and that She-Ra coaster, it's not huge theming, but there was still something there that made you go, I want to do it again.
Yeah,
it's very addicting. Yeah. Well,
Kurt, you said you had one last one you wanted to wrap up on before we sign off.
That was it. That was it.
Well, I have some news to announce to the stream then while we're here.
Yes, please tell us your big news here.
Well, big news is I'm going on a lovely trip to the West Coast, so I'm scratching some stuff off, in Kurt's part of the town. Well, not exactly where Kurt is, but I'm going to SoCal. I'm going to be there for a couple weeks. So I'm going to be hitting up both Disney parks there, Knott's Berry Farm, and Universal Hollywood. So it should be a great roundup of experiences, and I cannot wait to tell you all of them when I come back.
I'm going to have him record a bunch of footage so that perhaps we can do some kind of video with it. And he'll have a lot to say, just like with the park tour that Kurt took me on.
Yeah, I hope I can get into Super Nintendo World, though, because I know that's a little tricky. And I look at the app, it's like, oh, God, 3-hour waits. We'll see. I'm going on a weekday, so maybe it'll be 2 hours. We'll see.
Hopefully it'll be good.
All right, till next time, fellow park enthusiasts. Good night and take care.